off with just talking about the Will It Rally series a little bit and some of the cars. And if you guys have any comments or questions about that or anything else in general, add them in the comment section, because that's what we're here for. Just to do kind of a Q&A and address whatever questions you guys might have out in the world of the internet.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is start this Q&A off with a little bit of where Will It Rally came from. One of our most popular YouTube sub-channels now is our Will It Rally series, obviously hosted by Wyatt here. And we were just talking right before we went live, and it was, where did we even come up with this concept, and how did we start this?
Back in the early days of YouTube, one of the things, so I was doing some of the instructional content, but we really wanted to get onto like a weekly plan of doing something, and we wanted a format that was sort of repeatable, that might be more interesting than, you know, me talking about left foot braking or whatever else it might have been. And so, yeah, just between us and some of the instructors, and we goofed around with the idea of like, well, nobody's really, you know, ripping around in sort of unorthodox or normal cars, you know, street cars of all different shapes and sizes and colors and drive lines and transmissions and everything else. So I think we did 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we filmed 6 or 8 episodes, and we're like, we're gonna have a series, and we did it all in the winter, and there was like an Astrovan and a bunch of that first little package of them. And it was a great time, but then we decided to edit them all and release them all at the same time.
Yeah, and so I think the timing was poor on our part, because we were February, March, April filming, and it was all wintry conditions. And then it was May, June when we posted everything. And I think most of the comments were, "You still have snow?"
Yeah, New Hampshire's crazy. Like, it must like Alaska up there.
Yeah, I remember our second video was the van, and we were talking about trying to figure out creative direction, right? And so it was like half the episode is slidey, sexy shots with lots of audio and music and like the comments. That was probably the most vicious comment section we've ever had on the YouTube channel. It was in that on that video, and we learned a lot. And I still like that video, but it definitely was not what people wanted to see.
I don't think they quite got it sometimes too. Like, but yeah.
You know, I mean, I think followers on a certain YouTube channel kind of want consistency, right? And we were trying to figure our stuff out, and so we didn't quite have that figured out at that point.
And we would like to thank all of you for 99.9% of the time having good and fair comments and constructive and good questions and all of that stuff. And you're not
we're very lucky in our comment section.
We're very lucky with all of you, instead of, you know, some other comment sections are rough, real rough.
What do you think your favorite car has been, or vehicle, or do you have a favorite episode that you've filmed?
No, I don't know. The SRT Durango that we just did was ridiculous. That was like, you know, it's a Durango and you think it's going to be pretty normal. And that one was the most surprising, as far as like, that's a very, very, very serious vehicle. And I didn't really know that going into it. I thought it was just going to be a big silly engine in a Durango that was going to handle like a, you know, whatever mid-sized American SUV, and the brakes were going to be terrible. It was very, very well put together. And I had no idea. Yeah, so the Hellcat Durango thing, obviously. Other than that, I don't know. I'd have to think back at what were some of the other fast ones. There's one I can't talk about yet.
Yeah, the new one coming.
There's another one that, you know, I knew it was a good car. It was fine, you know, but like, you actually get in it and rip around. We broke the record. And that's all I can say. But
what was driving Tim's AMX like? You got to
hysterical.
try the rally.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That's right,
that was fun.
Yeah. Tim's AMX. That's ridiculous power, off the charts torque, agricultural transmission, solid rear axle, but you know, the ProFlex insane rally suspension. That's like, you know, a pretty special thing that Tim's built. And I was just happy that, you know, he was happy to have me drive it. And I'm happy I didn't hit anything or damage it. But
Yeah,
really
that's a
very
good,
cool.
knock on wood. We don't have any wood.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say this,
These are pretty
but
hard.
have you really never, no car has walked away from a Willet rally worse for wear, as far
Yeah,
as
well,
hitting a tree or actually
so that was one of the other kind of
secrets of Willet
serious
rally.
things about Willet Rally is, you watch rally racing and it's like cars bouncing off of trees and rolling over and everybody's, in the ditch and upside down and all this stuff. And it's like, there's a limit obviously to where, anybody can go flip it over in a ditch, but you can actually go pretty darn quick, totally safely. If, you are left foot braking, you've done a lot of training and you're out there practicing skid control a lot, it's actually not that big of a risk unless, there's some force majeure, catastrophic incident, animals, we've been lucky, your tree falls down in front of you, that kind of thing. Or, it's always tricky with vehicles too, because I think it happens a lot in rally and it happens a lot in racing where, a lot of these cars are kind of home built, or that people do the mechanic work themselves, and a bolt works itself loose or something happens and you don't really realize. I think a fair amount of rally crashes have been caused where the driver thinks it's driver error, or he blames the co-driver, as you always do. But in reality, it's because they put that ball joint in on the 2 nights before, after 3 days of no sleep, trying to make it to tow across country. And so we've been really very lucky too with mechanical. We've never had a mechanical issue,
right?
Even my fault or not.
Right.
Yeah,
I think we're putting out some bad juju.
Yeah, we're gonna change the subject immediately.
So David, the TRX was freaking sweet, but what was better than that? So David liked the TRX video.
The TRX was super sweet. It goes back to the same thing with watching the old the Top Gear set the lap thing. The tires are a lot more to do with it than it might look like on camera. And that was one of those where, the TRX is an unbelievable vehicle, but just on that day when it's that slippery, if you're trying to run up a muddy hill with, skateboard shoes on, you're gonna not, set the fastest time. And that's all that is. TRX is amazing. I love the TRX.
Any more car build videos coming? So I guess that's more of me. So we are, we're actually working out a deal with Nameless Performance. And so we're going to be doing some fun stuff here in a few months, probably, maybe a month. And we wanted to do some more, what could we do? Some basic car modifications with some, tailored with some driving techniques videos. So that's a great kind of section of videos that we're going to be working on here. And we're open to doing more content like that. I know the FCP guys were building their Porsche. They brought their Porsche out, and pretty much their whole build series that they did with that was out. So if you guys haven't seen the FCP Euro whole build of their Porsche rally car that they did, that was a really good video of just kind of the full step process of building a rally car.
Yeah, properly, in depth. Well documented and well done. Yeah, I think the difference with ours, is what he's talking about a little bit, is that it is going to be neat to be able to make some changes, drive the car, make some changes, drive the car, do some modification, and I'm not going to say it's easy to tear a car fully down and go from full street car to full rally car, but that's what most people do without ever driving it in between. So they don't ever catch those kind of shades of gray of, this item made this change, and item Y made change Y, and item X made, that's what most people do, is strip a street car completely down, build a full race car, and then go drive it. So we're going to kind of fill in the blanks a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah. No, so, and your guys' comments and anything that you guys might want to see or hear is actually, we listen to a lot of that. So if there's something you guys are interested in watching us do, or being a part of yourself, if you've got a project or want to be involved, let us know. We're always open to content ideas. David again is asking, as the owner of a base Impreza, what would be the first things you guys would upgrade to make it ready for rallying?
So proper rallying, if you're not going to go the roll cage route, proper rally off-road, skid plate suspension would be the top of my, protect the underneath, because you're going to be hitting rocks and bottoming out on stuff, and you come around a corner and there's just going to be, ruts or something like that, and you're going to hit it. And in a stock form, the cars are low and the suspension is soft and the underneath is vulnerable. So that's, the number one thing that, I've seen with people like, oh, I'm going to go rip around is, great till you come around the corner and smoke a rock and put a hole in the oil pan, rip the bottom of the radiator off, bend that whole, Subarus especially have that big U-shaped sort of front subframe thing. Those can bend, and that's where you tie the skid plate too. So it's all like tied together with, 1/4 inch aluminum or whatever you use for a skid plate. But I'd say skid plate and suspension, but
yeah, that and like always tires, right? So it's like, whatever your application, tires are going to be a huge variable. If you're rally crossing, you can get away with not even the suspension yet, but skid plate always too, because they're going to rut up whatever you're not on pavement. You're going to be coming across a rut, and you're going to really hate yourself when you hit your own oil pan instead of a skid plate.
Are there like commercially available Subaru skid plates?
Yeah, Primitive still is
Okay.
out there doing that. Yep. So that's who we send people to typically. I know Ryan Thompson will build some one-off stuff now and again, but Primitive, I think, is like on the shelf.
You can order it and it shows up at your house and it bolts up to a stock car.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's what
racing.
a lot of guys still do, and we recommend.
And even like if you're gonna go rallycross, autocross, you'd be surprised what a cone can do, right? If you like run a cone over and it gets stuffed under your engine bay and it skips your serpentine belt off or some other thing, or gets jammed in your radiator fan, like running over and eating parking cones is not good for cars. So it sounds silly, but it can cause a lot of damage. So yeah, skid plate, definitely. Subarus are good because the fuel lines and brake lines are already inside. Most other cars, your gas lines, your brake lines, and that kind of thing can be a problem. Subaru fuel tanks are pretty high up. Like, you're probably pretty good. Exhaust can start flopping around a little bit. Like good exhaust hangers, reinforce your exhaust hangers. Use mechanics wire. A few laps of mechanics wire around and twist that off on your exhaust hangers just to double those up. Because once your muffler gets coated with 50 pounds of mud and you're hitting bumps, you lose the exhaust behind you, and that kind of stuff is just no fun. So underbody protection is a big thing with normal cars off-road.
Juice wants to know about a heavy shift knob hurting the shifting forks and synchros. You ever had any experience messing around with your shift knob?
No, but you could see how that would potentially be an issue. If you have a heavyweight shift knob on a rod that is at an angle, say it's in second gear, if it is applying force to that, the shift rod and everything else, and it's pushing, the gears a little bit on the synchros, there could be,
I've seen it too, where people extend their shifter for whatever fun or silly reason, and that same concept of you're making leverage much higher, so it actually takes a lot less force to break things.
Well, or it's the people, the heavy shift knob is the same as like if you're driving around in second or fourth gear, like holding the shifter and sort of pulling it back, keeping tension on the shifter while it's in gear is not good for most transmissions.
My 2000 2.5 RS in college, I would drive from 2.5 hours to Wyoming to college, and I would rest my arm on the shifter, and I ended up buying a new transmission about a year in.
So that's the same theory with the depending. I don't know how heavy your shift knob is, but if you had like some big steel shift knob or something like that, that's going to be doing the same thing. The lightweight, just a typical lightweight shift knob. I don't have a favorite shift knob. There used to be Delrin ones like the similar to what Quaife used on their transmissions, and like the Sadev type. It's like just a white Delrin hard plastic shift knob. Dent Sport Garage used to make them. I don't know if they're around anymore. Whatever.
Something super light and easy.
Yeah. You race car, less weight, better.
How would you go about emergency braking, especially with left foot braking? I understand you move your left foot over, but like, what's the priority of movement under emergency braking, but you're still using left foot braking? You have 3 pedals, 2 feet, and the moose is coming across the
both
road.
feet sideways, and use both your toes on the brake and both your heels on the other pedals. No, usually, so like in a rally car, high speed back road, things happen. You're flying around the corner, and there's deer in the road. Your left foot is over the brake. You're gonna left foot brake. Off the throttle, on the brakes hard. Scrub as much speed as you can. If you stop short of hitting the moose and the car stalls out, you win, right? So by far the lesser of two evils. Like if you come around the corner and there's a child in the road, left foot, if your left foot's over the brake, slam on the brake, get the thing stopped. And if that avoids the major life-changing disaster, but your car stalls, who cares kind of deal. So always, for me at least, you're going to give your answer too, but if I'm driving quickly and it's dark or it's foggy or something's going on, and that's the point of left foot braking, is so that you come around a corner, something happens, bam, you're on the brakes. You save a half a second of reaction time at 70 miles an hour. You're going to stop 50 feet sooner, and that's the whole point. And the car stalling is,
Yeah, I think what we're getting at with that specifically too is like there's a pride or a shame of killing a car, like us professional drivers and your car stalls.
Yeah, stalls.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like the more I've done more driving, especially in more professional setting or race car setting, the less I'm worried about my car stalling. And like, you're at Park Expose and you stall the car and like everyone's it's like, I don't care. So and then especially in a scenario of emergency setting, your goal is to stop the car.
Yeah.
You can let it stall. Like there's there's loose surface scenarios where you need throttle to help you get around a maneuver something, but if you have that much time to steer, you have that much time to start moving your feet around. So it's like I can't think of a scenario where using your left foot on the brake, right foot on the gas, that you're going to need the clutch to save you in a scenario.
Same scenario, you're driving along, whatever's happening, panic situation, bam, get on the brakes. If you decide, I comfortably have enough room to stop this animal, I'm not going to hit them, then switch your feet over and come to a stop with your right foot.
You can both foot in on the brake pedal and then move your foot over the clutch, and then you're off the gas. So there's a lot of options.
I've been riding a lot of dirt bikes lately, off-road dirt bikes, up and down steep, slippery hills and everything else. And with the rear brake, you stall, not, super regularly, but like stalling a vehicle isn't a big deal at all.
Yeah, great. So that was Juice. Juice was just following up on that, saying thank you.
Cool.
So some other behind the scenes Will It Rally stuff. While Josh was with us, Josh Bogardus, he was part of the film crew that was helping do Will It Rally. He had some Easter eggs in our every Will It Rally he's been a part of.
Yeah.
His vehicle is somewhere in the background, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys are really into Will It Rally and I've watched him a few times, up until when we transitioned to the few episodes with Tim, you can try to find that it was a black Tacoma.
You will know what Josh drove. Well, the early ones, it wasn't. The early ones, it was a different vehicle.
Oh,
but
that's right.
You can go explore for yourself, and see
right.
what it was. But yeah, the early ones. And then he bought a black Tacoma.
That's right.
Yeah.
So he kind of threw that, because he was doing the filming and the editing.
Yeah.
He kind of threw that in and told me, I think, at episode 6 or 7 after he had done it. I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. I think it's funny, but
really good.
And
Bogey's since moved on. What's he doing now?
Yeah, Bogey. So he's got Ward & Co. Josh, if you're out there, congratulations with your production company. So he's, for hire, full-time cinema film photographer, FPV drone guy. We bring him in when we have the budget to bring in somebody big, but went from intern at Team O'Neill to helping us produce some of our best content, shooting the Tim O'Neill documentary. So the other thing that we haven't talked a lot about publicly yet is long-term documentary that we've been doing about Tim, his early days, the story of some of his racing, some of Team O'Neill.
It's amazing. I've only seen a little bit of it. It's going to be amazing.
We are hopefully going to finish the last few things we need to film in the next month. And the goal is this fall. I mean, the goal was last fall, a year ago, but it just sometimes life gets in the way. So hopefully it'll see the light of day soon, but it is very, very close. And that's a big passion project. He's started when he was with us. And so I think we're 5 years in to trying to get all the content together for that. So.
And interviewed a lot of different celebrities, a lot of different people are in it. It's really cool.
All right. Add-on for the emergency braking in a Subaru. Does it cause damage to the shock, the drive line when you rip the parking brake?
Yes. Subarus.
Ripping the parking brake.
Subaru STI, no. So the Subaru STIs have an electric handbrake center diff disconnect deal. So all-wheel drive cars in general, make sure you're off the gas when you use the handbrake. If you want to be extra sensitive, off the gas, clutch in and use the handbrake. That's always a great idea. The Subaru STIs will electronically open the center diff like a rally car so that you can do a bunch of handbrake turns. Most Subarus, the WRXs up through current, viscous center differential. A lot of the older 2.5 RSs, viscous center differential. They don't love it. So typically off the gas, clutch in. When you go for the handbrake, go for it. It's going to lock the rear tires up, but don't hang out too long. Put it back pretty quick, and you won't wear out that viscous center coupling, because that's going to ruin essentially your all-wheel drive system. You will have less all-wheel drive, and it will be more typically like front-wheel drive or whatever the path of least resistance is at that point. So viscous center diffs in Subarus, I love viscous center diffs. I think they're wonderful, but you can kind of almost consider them a wear item if you're driving hard. Like if you had a rally car with a viscous center diff, you're going to put a new one in like every season, if not in sooner. If you're using the handbrake especially, you'll burn out those viscous center couplings. So yeah, clutch in when you do it, minimize time with the handbrake up, and know that there is a limited number of those that you have in the bank, right? You get 100 of those. And at the end of that, your center diff, that viscous coupling is ruined. So use them wisely if you care. If you plan on having the car for a long time or anything like that, don't do so many handbrake turns. The good thing about them is Subarus are really easy to drive, right? If you've grown up driving four-wheel drive trucks and SUVs and Audi Quattros and things, Subarus turn in great. They trail brake great. You can do pendulum turns fine. Like you can do a whole rally with a Subaru and maybe you pull the handbrake once or twice. But yeah, you could also destroy viscous coupling in a parking lot, goofing around for like half an hour. And yeah, you could smoke that center diff essentially.
So in an emergency scenario, could you see ever using a handbrake, or would you would always
like as an emergency stop?
Yeah, this was a follow-up to the emergency stop.
So an emergency stop, handbrakes. The answer is yes, but not in a Subaru probably, because that viscous center coupling and the way that Subarus are set up, you have really good braking in a Subaru on slippery roads. Personally, I drive a front-wheel drive car, and I've driven a lot of different all-wheel drive cars where when you go to emergency brake, especially with ABS on like snow and ice, you get on the brake pedal, brrr, it's not really stopping. If you pull the handbrake, it locks the rear wheels up and drags them behind you and can stop you faster, for sure. Like if you're ABS braking and it's just not working, yeah, pull the handbrake and you feel the back end squat and the vehicle like slows down better, for sure. So yeah, handbrakes to help stopping when it's really slippery in different cars, definitely a viable option. One of the many reasons the little push button parking brake thing is no good these days with your little push button parking brakes aren't going to work for that. Yeah, going down a slippery hill, car's not stopping, you're coming to a stop sign, there's cars and stuff. Yeah, pull the handbrake. At that point, it's only going to help. You might get into a skid, when you pull the, obviously the back tires are going to slide a little bit. But if you have your wits about you and you've got a little bit of practice, you'll be fine.
Awesome. So shifting gears, Scion asked, how do you handle the mental part of rally racing, staying focused after making a mistake?
That's him.
That's you, Mr. Champion.
I haven't been racing in years. He's driving rally cars all over the country.
We'll talk about it, I guess. Yeah, for me, how do I handle the mental side? So I think it's a lot of physical prep. You know, I started my rally career doing the least amount of physical, like working out. You know, getting your home life right, getting your family right. Like, if you've got a lot of mental drain already going into a rally, it makes things harder from that point forward. So I've seen a huge difference if I can like line up my ducks before I go to a race. That allows me to leave my close calls on the course and not take them with me. And something I know I've talked about with Tim a lot is just, you know, you got to be in the moment and you have to not worry about anything, any mistake you made in the past. You can worry about it after the fact if you're doing video review or, you know, get to the end of the stage and think about what you did. But yeah, I mean, I really feel lucky. I guess I've never really sat on a stage in mid rally and been like, you know, I almost made it. You know, after the fact, I still remember one tree in which I can't even remember which rally it was. Oh, LSPR last year, came around a 3 with a slippery 3, and I was on the edge, and I looked at it for half a second, and I looked under the road, and I've even gone back and watched my in-car and watched my eyes.
See your helmet go?
Yeah, and and I talked about it with Glenn, and I'm like, he saw it too. He looked up and saw that tree, and like that tree still haunts me. But I luckily walked away. You know, I drove away from that one. But
like do a perfect painting of that tree right
yeah,
now. Like you got a perfect picture of it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's, you know, focus and practice and just obviously understanding the weight of, you know, worrying about the past and the present moment when I'm going 100 miles down, you know, a 1-lane dirt road with mine and my co-driver's life at stake. You know, the pressure of that has allowed me to perform, but some people don't perform.
You see it where a mistake happens. We see it in training where, you know, hey, a student, somebody's in the car, we're goofing around. Oh yeah, he bumps into the bank a little bit. Oh, we're fine. The big crash is now coming, right? Like the countdown has started. To the point where, like, if he's thinking about what's behind him, oh, why did I hit the bank? Is the car okay? Did the tire go? Whatever. And you're saying hard left, you know, you can't see blind hard left. And, you know, you just don't have time for it. And it's one of those where mistakes are going to happen. You're going to screw up all over the place. You know, you'll be late at time controls. You'll do silly things. You'll forget to put your hood pins in and the hood whacks your windshield. And, you know, it's one of those, like, the only way out is through. Like, we're only moving forward from wherever we are now. There is no past anymore. Like, get the hood down, find some zip ties, fix the windshield, back in the car. Where do we got to be? Get there. And like he said, afterwards, you can be like, oh, why didn't I latch my hood pins? Can I do something about that? Whatever. Do an after action report from the comfort of, you know, the hotel room after the rally. But yeah.
So that's actually, as you spoke, I thought about the videos that I've done after the rallies, the breaking down the rally videos that we've put out, where my goal of those videos were so that someone else could watch my failure. Because I think if you've watched somebody go through it, if it's not the first time it's ever happened to you or you've ever thought of it, it's so much easier to deal with. The first time I ever broke my axles, I had no idea what was happening. First time I ever got a flat tire on stage, I never knew what happened.
You're not gonna know what that feels like until
you
happens.
do it. Yeah. So like the second time, it's always easier. So like that's the cool thing of rally is like there's so much going on and so many things that you're trying to figure out. The first time you ever experience it, it's way harder. One thing Glenn figured out about me, and I've also started to realize too, is I shift before the corner when I'm stressed. Okay. And so he'll tell me to breathe. Yeah. And like I start driving way better. Yeah. But like, you know, when I get stressed and overwhelmed, he's starting to pick up on it as my co-driver and helping coach me through those moments.
For sure.
And breathing, just like anything in life.
Who would have thought? But yeah, and that's a real thing too, like forgetting to breathe in stressful situations. If you're driving at the limit or near the limit, especially for 5-10 miles or something like that, you need to really think about your breathing much more than you might realize that you have to. Because once the oxygen levels go down and the stress is going up, and just bad things happen.
Oh, good question. A video about clutchless shifting. That's a good idea.
We did it.
We did do one.
We did it.
That's such a good idea. We already did it.
I don't know. We talked about it this week, actually. A specific clutchless shifting video. I'm not sure if we technically did that. There is a video on our channel called heel toe versus clutchless shifting or something like that. But if you go on our channel and search clutchless shifting or shifting without the clutch, at least one video will come up. And yeah, that's a good idea. Cause if we haven't done a very specific shifting without the clutch video, we should. We were just talking, we haven't done like starting on a hill with a manual and some of the basic stuff that we need to get to.
And I think the other part of his comment was talking about the senses, driving senses, and shifting without the clutch is like feeling of the synchros and the gears work with the right RPM match. And that's definitely being in tune with your car and understanding the mechanics a lot more.
Yeah, even so, shifting without the clutch, even if it's something that you're never going to do very much on the street, having the proficiency with doing it and being able to shift without the clutch and learning that process and visualizing a bit of what's going on inside the transmission is only a good thing for your shifting in general. And to piggyback another lesson off of that, one of the big things that we see with people all the time in a racing situation, especially, shifting hard and just trying to shift. Oh, first a second, like as you're clutch in and you're shifting, it's like, and you go to third and the synchros are grinding. It's like, you're only going to break your car. And whether that's Hollywood or we can blame Fast and Furious or video games.
Fast and Furious, I would blame.
Definitely. Like, if you're driving a street car with a synchro transmission, get the clutch all the way in, put it in neutral, put it in the new gear, let the clutch out and go. Like, maybe not as slow as I just explained it, but if you're crunching synchros when you're shifting fast and everything else, you only got 20 of those, before you drain the transmission fluid and it's glitter, and that used to be your synchros and your gears, and your car doesn't move anymore.
My first time at rally school, I remember Komar, I was in the car and I grabbed the handle and I'm
of course.
And he's like, grab it like this.
Fingertip.
And so that total shift in my mentality and forcing me to grab the top of the shift knob, it just gets so much lighter, and I still vividly remember that feedback.
But to circle back to the shifting without the clutch, if you learn how to shift without the clutch and you feel, I pull it into neutral, and as the revs drop, boom, it just drops right into gear so silky smooth, and you feel when it wants to be where it needs to go, then when you go back to high performance driving, you've got a feel for that, and you will be smoother and nicer with things. Like he said, because you fingertips on the shifter and all of that stuff. It's all really good training. We'll do a video. It'll be quick.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you for that.
Some cars like it a lot more than others.
Right.
And some, especially like with first gear, if you're going third to second, it's fine, but second to first can be a problem, and different vehicles.
The Fiesta actually has a hang too with the throttle. So there's modern cars now have this throttle hang. And so what you're waiting for the drop in revs to match, and it takes forever. Yeah. So it's like there's not an efficiency in time for shifting without the clutch on a Fiesta with a standard ECU. The
modern cars, when you let off the gas, it doesn't just go from wherever you were to zero throttle. It really slowly comes down so that the car feels smoother to drive and people like it. Some sort of fuel the journalists say, the car drives nice and smooth, even when you drive it really clumsy. Where an old car, you let off the gas and it's like, and also the fuel economy, and so the shifts are smooth. But long story short, modern cars, when you let off the gas, it comes down slower than an old car with a cable clutch or a cable throttle or anything.
David wants to know how Tim's UR Quattro is going, and it's about the same position. Anyone seen it? He's got a ton of projects. It's
awesome.
So believe it or not, he's got a lot going on at the shop. The Quattro got the roll cage in it. and that's where it's at right now. He's got a few more projects actually to finish, but it is on his board of priorities. So
fourth in line or
yeah,
something.
so third or fourth in line. But I
Do
mean,
they
it
know
was
about-
like seventh in line, so it's moving up. So we're happy about that.
Handbrakes is done. Do they know about the other German
Yes.
items?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
good.
talked about that.
Good.
So, yeah,
You know
we
what's
need to
secret,
do
what's not
more.
anymore?
We need to do more an in-depth video of him in that Volkswagen. So if you
Yeah.
guys haven't seen, Tim's got his original Volkswagen Rally Golf that he won Mount Washington Hill Climb. He's been playing with that and just trying to figure out what that car should be, because it's not currently competitive. But
Well,
it's
and
something,
there's
some issues with the current
based
regulations.
on like a Group A rally golf from back in the day. So there's a lot of, like the engine block to transmission parts that just don't exist anymore. So like that package, it's a museum piece kind of deal. And it's like, if we actually go out and break something,
it's going to be
like,
impossible.
Yeah, you're going to try and find something in somebody's shed in Europe that, I don't know.
Scott wants to know, have we figured out the Focus RS rear clutch packs overheating? So I can talk a little bit about that. Actually, there are some forums that have some solutions. It's not that they actually overheat. It's that the ECU has a mathematical equation that thinks it's overheating, and that's what stops you from getting into drift mode. It does take, some aftermarket time, some time with some aftermarket stuff, but go on the forums. Some of the guys that are track daying these have spent some time with it. For the rally car specifically that we had, we were lucky enough to work with Ford Performance, and we got a custom setup that Ford wasn't willing to give out to the public and be replicatable. But there are some guys that are doing some things like putting a sensor in a different part of the oil, and so moving some sensors around to get a different temperature reading will allow you to get a lot more fun in the Focus. So I don't know the in-depth answer to that, but I know Tim was talking about the Focus RS forums.
So it gets warm and it kills your fun before it actually does overheat?
It doesn't actually overheat because it uses some mathematical equation, but there was one of the sensors reading some temperature, and if that never got to a certain temp, then it didn't engage the mathematical equation that cuts the fun. So
yeah, there's a lot of these, the Toyota GR stuff and everything else where, the rear drive units and the clutch packs and everything else, and they can all have their little things.
Jet Plane has a good one. What type of people do you see becoming good rally drivers? What does it take?
A hefty financial commitment.
That's perseverance. I think if we can define it, very shortly, and then there's what does that mean? But someone who has the will and desire to focus their entire effort into one thing, right? Yeah, and that's anything, being good at anything.
It's anybody who's gonna excel at anything, you have to be really driven to do that thing and willing to make a lot of compromises to make that happen and really care about it. And I think that would be true for someone who succeeds at any sport or business or endeavor in life, or wants to be, some special forces guy or whatever it is. Like, you just have to be like, this is my path. This is what I want to do. I will make compromises and do whatever has to happen so that I can do that. And if you care about it that much, you'll figure it out.
Right. And I think that's what I've found interacting with professional or top end rally drivers is how shockingly bad they are at other things. Basic life skills, because they had to focus 100% of their time and effort on that. On the flip side, I've interacted a lot with people in business, and they're usually not the best drivers, and they don't have the time to,
doesn't matter.
It's like they can be the weekend guy that shows up, and so being realistic with your goals, maybe not realistic, but being driven enough to focus your effort. You can't be the best guitar player, the best video game guy, the best race car driver, the best business owner, the best family man. If you've got a family, it's hard. You can't have it all. Pick a few, focus. There's a lot of advice out there that says the same thing. And I would say that's the best rally driver is the person that is willing to sacrifice almost everything else to be the best rally driver. Being good now, that's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my health right, trying to make my family position right, trying to make the business good so that I can be a good rally driver. That's what I think you can balance a lot of that. But if you're trying to be the best, you're going to be giving up a lot of other things. What do you think?
Yeah.
You were young when you were
So
racing, right?
I was young. I mean, there was a time where I lived at the rally school in a tent and like a pickup truck with a cap on the back. Split my time fairly evenly between those two in order to save up money to go racing. That truck later got repoed. As I was loading the van to go to, out west to go to like Oregon or something. See you later. Fine. Take the truck. Don't care. Just borrowed a Volkswagen from Tim or something back in the day. Like there was one where we towed cross country to Washington to the Olympus rally. And I didn't have enough cash to get home. Like back then they had the Max Attack checks, the big Happy Gilmore checks. Like I needed to finish. I needed the podium at Olympus. I don't know if I told anybody that, but like I needed to podium and they had agreed that like, if I finished on the podium, you get the Happy Gilmore check, but they'd like write I needed the real check, like to get back. And, I could have, whatever, I'm 25 years old. I could have called my mom and be like, Mom, I'm stuck in Washington or something, maybe. But like, no, I was,
Awesome.
Everything must go. Like, we're going racing. And that was the year I won the championship. But then it's like, do I want to do that again? No. That's why people are like, why don't you race anymore? And it's like, wow, because you have to give up, a lot of stuff. And it's a lot of travel days. It's a lot of, service vehicle and tools and all this other ancillary crap, around the race car. And then you're re-prepping the race car at night and in between things. And then your weekends are gone and all this stuff. And you just really have to care deeply about doing that thing in order to do it successfully. Or be lucky enough to be able to pay a lot of other people to do all of the mechanic stuff and all of everything else. And you can focus on,
typically
job
if you have
and
enough
home life and all that.
wealth to do that, you're also not going to be the best rally driver because you're usually generating wealth somehow.
Well, and
or you're old, right?
Well, I think you could say universally, whether in Europe or Australia or Asia or the United States or Canada, most rally drivers. What is the demographic of the average rally driver?
100. The wealthiest individual, and typically they're older guy that can afford to do it and has the time and resources available, and the kids are in college, and and then you've got the teenagers that are the world rally champions,
struggling. But
they've been funded, right? Or
somehow
you've found a way to find the money, and think of like Travis Pastrana's motor career, and like he found the way to find the money and had the family support, and Ken started DC Shoes and found the money, and it's like there's not a way that we know of to just do it on will.
And honestly, one thing that I would say after having seen it all in the US and Canada, and I've been down to Mexico and South America and everything else, like if it's really your passion to like become a proper rally driver, that's what you want to do with your life, I would almost say move to Europe.
Right.
Like just stop now, pack a bag, like sell your whatever.
It's the only way to know if you're
and,
actually
like,
competitive.
Go over to the UK or somewhere where it's like you speak the language, it's easy enough, and they're just so much more squared away, and also the events are so close. Like the British Rally Championship is all within like the state of New York sized area or whatever. Right. That's probably terrible geography. Don't listen to me, but much smaller than living in New Hampshire and having to drive to Oregon and Washington and Michigan and Missouri and Pennsylvania. Like, it's insane. And it's wonderful and it's amazing. The American Rally Championship is super, super cool. But like Europe, it's all condensed. Go move to Ireland and get a little rally car and run the Irish Rally Championship. Right. And you'll have the time of your life. And you'll see exactly how you stack up. And there's parts and there's supplies and there's enthusiastic people and spectators. And it's a whole thing. Like if you're 19 and you want to be a rally driver for the rest of your life, move to Europe.
Right. I would agree with that. I've got an 06 Mitsu Rally Art. How would it go as a rally? That's stock.
Yeah.
That's a great platform.
Yeah. Can't go wrong.
Should I get another vehicle instead of modifying that one? '06 Mitsubishi Lancer Rally Art. If you have it already, and that's the car you see yourself rallying, my 2000 2.5 RS that I had when I was 18, I always envisioned that being my rally car. And then I ran my businesses and I, met my wife and we got married and we drove around in that car. And like now the emotional attachment to that car became too high to hurt that car as a rally car. So if you're emotionally attached to that Mitsubishi, I wouldn't rally it. But if it's something that you could see beating on it mercilessly and eventually it might end up in a junkyard, that would be a great platform to use as a rally car.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't have any feelings about it and it's not sacred in some way, absolutely. As a platform, 100% go for it. Yeah. And ties back to, if you missed the beginning of this live stream, somebody asked what's the first things that you do. I said skid plates and protect the underbody. So if you hit a rock or something, it's not just gonna destroy the oil pan and everything else. Skid plates, suspension, a few other things, and go for it. Tires.
So David, who was talking about his Impreza, has a CVT in it, and he was asking about the Scandinavian Flick in that 2015 with an automatic.
Do it.
If you can, it's not going to hurt. It's better than like the handbrakes, because he was talking about.
Yeah.
That would be better for the car as far as the.
For sure. Yeah, handbrake turns in Subarus. You have a limited number of them in the bank, and every time you do it, the number gets smaller. And when you hit the end, you're going to need a transmission, center differential, whatever. So the fewer handbrake turns you do, the better. So definitely Scandinavian Flick. Learn trail braking, get good at trail braking. The thing about either of those is it's going to be difficult if your ABS is active, and I know you're on the street with it probably. So, I can't say disconnect the ABS, but like immediately disconnect the ABS. And get good at trail braking and pendulum turns. You can spin a car right around on the road 180 degrees with a pendulum turn. So if you get halfway decent at that, you really don't need the handbrake. Except as like plan D. You've tried a few other things, you're coming into the corner, you're running out of road, handbrake. But like, trail braking and pendulum turns are going to be your bread and butter.
So we've got a new question. So Big Bad Voice.
Big Bad Voice.
What skills transfer from drift to rally?
A lot. Especially if you're rallying a rear wheel drive car, like all of them.
Right. You look at Kale Rovanpera showed up at a drift event and won like a professional drift event, having never done it.
Really?
As a WRC rally champion.
Love it. Amazing.
So like I would say a lot of the skills, maybe let's talk about what wouldn't apply. What would you say is more of a dirt only driving skill?
So drifting versus rear wheel drive rally. Rear wheel drive rally, you're going to have all of the off-road terrain to worry about. So, you might be a great drifter if you want to go rallying. Man, you got like
surface,
steep downhills into corners, steep uphills into corners, off camber stuff and ruts and mud and rocks and just 1,000 different flavors of off-road terrain almost. I mean, they're dirt roads, but some of them are pretty lumpy and bumpy and gnarly. And that can bounce the car, it can unsettle the car, and it can do a lot of different things to you. So get some seat time doing that. There's a lot of different ways to do that. But drifting and rear wheel drive rallying are very, very similar.
From the driving standpoint,
yes.
Right? But then I think what we're saying here too is rally is so complicated. You got the co-driver variable that you're not going to experience in drifting, and the reading the road and understanding like how to call the notes and where, Tim can look at the tree cover of a road and look at the color of the material and like understand all of these things based off experience. But having the rear wheel drive driving skill is not going to help you in that, right? Like you need to understand those components. But doing drift to practice for rally is great.
It's great car control.
And that's why we started the drift school. But it's also why we started the school to stage program for people. Like doing the 5-day rally school is great for driving skill, but you still need more to finish rallies, right? So we've got the co-driver school. There's all these different things that we're developing so that we can help a client, really get the full breadth of experience before they want to go and start to do their first real rally.
Yeah. Yeah. And my only flavor of drifting that I've done is the different drift courses, and I've done a bunch of drifting stuff, but that was after having done rear wheel drive rally for many years. So switching over and basically doing that on pavement, and okay, you can hold bigger angles. You got higher steering angle in a lot of the drift cars and all of that. But it's all very similar. If you haven't seen another masterclass in rear wheel drive rally, you're on YouTube, search Jari-Matti Latvala historic rally and Mark II Escort rear wheel drive through the forests of Sweden, I think it is, maybe Finland, I don't know. The summer one. Sweden, the summer one? Yeah.
Sweden
summer, Finland's winter?
No, other way.
Other way.
Oh, the classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's Sweden's still winter, Finland's summer.
So Finland, Jari-Matti Latvala historic rally Finland in the summer. And it's...
Yeah, I know what the video you're talking about.
It's like 15 minutes that will change your understanding of what's possible in a rear wheel drive rally car.
Yeah. Was that like amazing. Corolla or something? Like it was
Escort
like
Mark II.
Escort. Yeah.
Escort Mark II, manual trans, just on. So good.
He's an amazing driver.
Yeah.
Is there any professional short track rallycross? So like, door to door, I think he's asking.
Like European style rallycross.
Yeah. Not in the U.S. That is not Nitro that I know of.
Yeah, Nitro.
And Nitro's doing it with the. They have the buggies now, so like if you're more of an entry level guy, it's somewhat accessible. I think. I don't know if that's invite only still, or if they
the Volkswagen bugs, like the Class 11 cars. Yeah. Super cool. But again, it's one of those. Country's so big, like if you live in Rhode Island, it's just not going to make sense for you because all of those.
I live in New York.
Okay, yeah, where all those events are.
They're West Coast,
Southwest.
So it's not accessible right now, but we need someone to build it, and you build it, they will come.
Yeah. Yeah, the European rally stuff is amazing. The rallycross, door to door. And it's been through a lot of evolutions. We saw GRC to everything else. It changes hands every 4 or 5 years.
Now with the Dana from the UFC bought in to the Nitro Cross thing. So they have a huge marketing plan.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully this is the best chance it has to have a significant effort. I'm excited to see where the sport goes with his input.
Yeah, and that's it. Again, if you're thinking of getting into racing and rallying, rally is wonderful, but there's no eyeballs. And if there's no eyeballs, there's no sponsors. And if there's no sponsors, it's going to eventually be a dead end. So, if you're young and you're thinking about it, something like that Nitro Rallycross series in the most affordable class you can get into, or whatever you got to do, but because it is televised, at least, if not, it's a huge online.
Yeah, it's huge online.
And you'll be able to get sponsors. It's like, I remember back in the day when Tanner Faust was rallying. Loved rallying. He's a great rally driver. But he went drifting because it had Formula D and his whatever and his sponsors, and you could do things. And he's had a very successful career driving cars fast and doing stunt driving and all the things that Tanner's done. Because he stepped away from rally, unfortunately.
Well, and Travis Pastrana's always said it too. It's like rallying's where you go to spend your money. Like they know that the value is not here right now.
Yeah.
Do you see certain people from certain environments doing better in rally?
The people who I see hop in with serious aptitude to be really good off the bat are doing other things that have you going quickly through the forest and rough terrain. So like mountain bikers, skiers, snowboarder, dirt bike. Travis Pastrana, best dirt biker in the world ever. Brandon Semenuk is number 2. Now he's number 1 in Subaru, winning the national championship. Brandon Semenuk, professional mountain biker. People who do things where you're always worried about, look out for the rock and dance over the thing and get around the tree and go through the thing, and your brain is processing all of that information quickly while you're operating steering and brakes and throttle, or skis and a snowboard and whatever, are going to be a lot better.
Yeah, and like you look at Finland and all these other countries, they're the farm boys that have been driving an implement since they were 0 years old, and just have so much seat time. And so the rural life skills is somebody who's lived on a dirt road their whole life and just used to that environment. That's where rallies are. That's where people are comfortable. It's if you
I mean, it's, you get into some of the fast, even the 2-wheel drive guys. Early on, you live in a rural area, there's not a lot to do. So, you're out off-road driving, you're getting stuck in the woods in a Jeep, you're climbing up over a mountain in a Toyota truck, you're taking an old Volvo station wagon sideways through the woods at night because that's what there is to do and it's your hobby. You're going to obviously be a lot better at it than someone who lives in the city or spends a lot of time driving sims instead of getting stuck in ditches and that kind of thing. But yeah, the activities, and always look for more activities, or try and find something that you enjoy where you're going quickly and processing information at the same time. It could be skateboarding. It could be any of this stuff where, you're moving quickly through the environment, processing what's going around you with some risk and consequence about it. And there's 100 different ways to do that.
Sounds like we're gonna get a little more cerebral here. So Ben just bought a GR Corolla and lives in Vermont. Each drive is a dream.
Come on
How
over.
am I still alive? Thanks, Ben. I don't know how you're still alive. It's probably because all-wheel drive's keeping you on the road, hopefully.
Yeah, I just turned 40. I never thought I'd make it. Yeah.
Oh, 37.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Is there any option somewhere to for the GD rear knuckles to have bolt-on hubs? I don't know. That's not a good question for me. If you send us an email to info@teamo'Neill, we can look into that for you and send that to the right mechanical people who can tell us if there's an easy answer for you. Yeah. Hippie Nolik wants to know, how do we pick the cars for Willet Rally?
Very secret selection process. There's no.
Whoever's staff car is in the parking lot.
The Raptor Bronco is his. The Corolla is mine.
The white Corolla.
The old Corolla is mine. A handful of employee cars. A few people who've been brave enough to let us borrow their cars.
Forrest Duplessis connecting us with Josh.
Forrest Duplessis.
So thank you.
And Josh Enos, thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of, we don't choose the cars. The cars find us, or we're just in a position where, we've always won our Willet Rally anything, really, right? So it's like, what's available? What do we have at our fingertips? And we are
friends and family in your case.
My wife's rig has been on, I think, twice. Yeah. My rigs have been on. Every rig that I buy has been on. So
Sister's rig.
The Mini was mine.
The Mini was yours.
My
Explorer.
Explorer was my wife's, and then my Jeep Wrangler.
The Wrangler Rubicon, the orange
the
one.
yellow Bronco was mine. Then the Raptor Bronco was mine.
And the 4Runner.
And then my sister's 4Runner, the green 4Runner. Yeah. We're gonna get my brother's GMC truck here hopefully soon.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested in having us Willet Rally your car, obviously we want there's some risk of damage, but Wyatt's obviously pretty good at what he does too. So if you're into it, send us a message on social media and we'll connect with you and see if we could get your car out for a Willet Rally episode. Saleh wants us to rally a Chevy Cruze.
Sure.
It's a smaller platform car.
We'll definitely rally.
It would definitely rally.
Yeah. I want a PT Cruiser.
Do you guys ever rally an Evo or have a video on it? We have never. I've never been in an
I've
Evo.
been in out of a handful of them. They're awesome. The only issue, I don't know if you're in the States or not, but they just got brought in such small numbers. Yeah. Is what it is. There's just so many more Subaru, WRXs and STIs versus the Evos that a lot of them got wrecked racing. They, they made great track cars and time attack cars and everything else. They make great rally cars. There's no real secrets to them. I think the big thing that's different is like the diff pump deal, because it's a transverse engine all-wheel drive system and it's mechanical idiosyncrasies. But as far as driving one, they're awesome. I think they're great, obviously. But parts availability and actual car availability over here, because they're pretty scarce, pretty expensive, harder to find parts for, they're not raced as commonly. There is a big contingency of like the Irishmen. If you're not involved with rallying, the Irishmen are quite a scene. Your first few rallies you go to.
That's why I don't go there.
Yeah, no.
I go to sleep after.
Yeah, go to sleep after the rally.
He's an Evo nut. He's a co-driver and somebody I went to college with, and I see him always posting about.
You can beg, borrow, or steal one, or trade him something else for it, and you'll get a drive.
Driving what everyone else has is the better option, but if you want to make an impact,
talk to a guy. Somewhat recently, as one of those like them. I don't, have anything to do with Honda 450s, but like if you're gonna go run the ball, racing car or truck or motorcycle because you identify with it and like exemplifies you as a person or whatever it is, like, aha, here's my creation. That's great. And please do it, go do it. But know that the practicality isn't going to be there when
you have to enjoy that part of it, the originality. And that's what Tim, he enjoys the mechanical challenge. And like, I would be so stressed. And,
you have to enjoy that so much that you're willing to not finish a rally because of it.
Yeah.
And that's great. Like, I fully support that. If that's you as a person, like 100%, please rally an ice cream truck. But
we want to see it.
We want to see it 100%. Don't ever think that we're against that, but just know that, you break your ice cream truck halfway through a rally, like nobody's going to have parts. Whereas if you just got this blue Subaru like everybody else, you'd have every piece you need available to you.
Well, we appreciate everyone's time this evening. So if you guys have more comments, questions, you can add it to this video and we'll look at it for either making another video or the next live that we do. But we really appreciate everyone's support in our community and look forward to doing more lives with you guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. Have a good one.